Hey everybody. Wow. Sure has been a little bit, hasn't it? I'm here with Neil
Hi.
of the famed Audio Games podcast. Uh it's been a couple months and you might have noticed that when this got uploaded, the Game of the Year podcast episode also got uploaded alongside it. So you got a lot of content to get through you're into that kind of thing. It's just been a lot. I had to move. Not unexpectedly, but in a very short amount of time, and there was a lot of things that went with that, and it just kind of became a little overwhelming. And it's not that we weren't playing video games, as you'll hear soon. It's just that I didn't really have the time or headspace to sit down and put an episode in. But thankfully, that is changing. Things have settled, and from those ashes rises the phoenix of the Audio Games podcast.
We're back, baby.
Here's Neil, here's me, here's the podcast. Audio Games, hello.
Is it video games? Hello.
Video it's video games, hello. I just was thinking Audio Games podcast.
Hello, everybody. Yes.
Audio Games video.
It is, in fact, the Audio Games podcast. And it has been a while, Matt. We have games we've been playing, and, the beginning of the year has had, let's say, at least one large piece of news that we're definitely going to need to talk about.
I would say there's been multiple large pieces of newses.
Yeah.
Multiple newses, multiple pieces.
Mm-hmm,
as usual, business as usual. But it's actually kind of fortuitous. Not to be Mr. Brightside, Mr. Silver Lining over here, but a lot of the biggest releases I think that are going to come out this year happened basically over this previous month. So
you don't think anything is gonna be bigger than Resident Evil 9?
2026 is peaked, man, and it's not just Resident Evil 9. Okay, I said multiple titles, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But how have you been, Neil? We haven't. I mean, we did interact multiple times.
True.
It's guys. This is not performative. We're actually friends.
I know. Crazy as it may sound, considering how rarely we actually manage to play video games and stuff together.
Yeah.
But it is true.
This is not a performative, made-up friends podcast. This is the real deal.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I've been alright. I've been struggling with the fact that I turned 39, which is really close to 40.
It's about as close to 40 you can get.
I mean, I have a few more months of getting closer.
Sure. That's some serious copium, but okay.
Yeah. But other than that, there's been some cool stuff going on. The newest bunch of Netrunner cards came out a week ago as of recording this, which
just
is
in time for
fun.
Just in time for me to be overwhelmed by them.
You did play a little Netrunner with me. That was really exciting. I hope we get to do some more of it at some point.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot more than I thought it was.
It's been a lot. It's not a simple game. It is a complex game with a lot going on.
I do like that it is asymmetric. So
me too. I love it. And I love the
different
hidden information stuff too. It's all hits on every level for me.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Not a video game though.
It's not like I voided out for 2 months either. I've been up to stuff.
Well, let's hear what you have been up to.
I rode a horse.
Okay.
That was cool. It's the year of the horse. I was like, you know what? Year of the horse. I'm gonna ride a horse. So I did that. That was fun. I went to do archery very recently, so I was shooting a bow and arrow. Real Hawkeye stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of throwing darts at the dartboard to try and keep myself thoroughly distracted. And video games are a big part of that, but, I also want to vary my experience where I can. And, I've been driving up and down basically the wine country and the San Francisco coast and just finding things to do. I got a 5K that I signed up for.
Oh.
That's coming up next weekend. So, Sometimes I want to sit down and play a video game, but I'm just like, I gotta go run around so that I don't like look like a complete idiot when I finally line up at the start line.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, life goes on, and video games keep coming out.
That they do. And in fact, I've been playing some semi-recent ones.
Semi recent, I would say that you've been playing some new releases.
Yeah. I mean, the way that we consider new releases, at least, like, technically, Routine came out in December last year, but December feels like it's going to be a 2026 game as far as I'm concerned, because who the fuck has time? Like,
During the holiday season, nobody.
exactly.
Unless you're like you hate the holidays, in which case, more power to you. That's fine.
But yeah, I played through Routine, which is a space-based horror game that was announced, God, what, 13 years ago or something before coming out, and finally made it all the way out. And I had a pretty good time with it, especially given a large part of why I was playing it was, hey everyone, October this year's scary game didn't really hit with the scary part. So let's do a makeup game for that. And this game definitely did get me multiple times. I was really happy that one of the biggest scares I got was actually really close to the end of the game. Horror games, I feel like, are pretty bad at staying scary as a rule, or even really hitting you with the jump scares and stuff in a effective way the deeper you get into the game. And part of that is, you get used to it. So the fact that this game never got me so used to the jump scares that it wasn't effective anymore was a big plus. But also for games like, Resident Evil, for example, they have a habit of being scary, intense, and then becoming an action game at the end. And this game never goes into the action game direction either.
Oh man, I got stuff to say about that, Neil.
I'm sure you do. Um, but as I ended up being pretty happy with that game, even though there is some, I would say, fairly obvious, let's say, breaks in development that they took while making this game. I've heard some interviews from them saying, yeah, we basically had to put the game down for, 3 or 4 years in the middle of it because of the way things were working out before we were able to come back to the game with support and put it over the finish line. And there's a part in the game that really feels like they had a bunch of a game made, and then there's a big split, and they made a new section, so to speak. And the gameplay is mostly the same in the two kind of halves of the game, but what you are running from, the general vibe and aesthetic of what is happening in the area and stuff feels different in a way that does feel like it is bordering on being a different game and or sequel rather than feeling as grounded in the same space as that opening bits. But it is a really cool game and really just has a focus on, you are weak, you don't really have a great way to fight back. You can stun the enemies in general that you are running from, but that's all, just stun them very momentarily. And you're mostly running around looking at computer screens and navigating them, finding passcodes to open up into different areas so you can progress through this place and find out a little bit about what the hell happened on the moon. And I did just genuinely find it to be a pretty effective and fun horror game compared to some of the other ones that I've experienced.
Yeah, it had a consistent feel, I think.
Yeah.
Besides the weird break where the development changed, but
Yeah.
But that's. I'm glad that the game came out, right? Would it have come out if it weren't for that? I don't know. I think that it certainly was a necessary step. It was 13 years in development.
Something like that, yeah. Which, with the big break in it, okay. Yeah, they announced it 13 years ago. It wasn't exactly in development actively for the full 13, but
I'm just gonna put this out there. Feel a little bit better about the delay in the podcast now. Slightly better.
fair, fair. But I'm pretty sure you've been playing a little bit of something that might be considered a horror game as well.
Yeah. I picked up Resident Evil 9 or Resident Evil Requiem. It is the next step in the Resident Evil series after Village, which was the eighth entry. And it stars a pair of characters, so it's kind of harkening back to the Resident Evil 2 format, Resident Evil 3 format, where you kind of go back and forth between characters rather than there is the Leon chapter and the Claire chapter, right?
Sure.
In this game, it's just a straightforward, singular story where you move back and forth through the characters. And the way that it's done, where Grace is this new character and she's the green one, she's from the FBI, and I don't want to spoil anything about her character, so I'm not going to go too deeply into that. But her parts literally play like Resident Evil 2, where you have an inventory with specific numbers of slots, right? So you have like six
Oh,
slots,
sure.
and with those six slots, you can carry one item in each slot. And obviously, like the Resident Evil 2 remake, you can expand that inventory slightly, but it is still very much something that evokes earlier Resident Evil games where you even just deciding what you're going to carry with you and what you're going to leave behind are really big decisions. Um, and then you have the Leon sections, which are very much like the Resident Evil 4 remake, where you have the attaché case and you have all of this inventory room, and you start with a bunch of ammo, and it's very much more of an action section. And Leon retains his ability to parry, which was introduced in the Resident Evil 4 remake when they introduced a lot of the new knife mechanics.
Right.
Except Leon doesn't have a knife; he has a hatchet. Because I think that he was like, I've done enough of these things that I'm not going to carry something that's going to break. I'm just going to carry a big fucking hatchet and a whetstone. And you reload your hatchet, you press the reload button, and he sharpens it. And it's like, oh, this is like Monster Hunter. It's fucking Capcom. This is some
Yeah,
Monster Hunter
sharpening
shit.
your hammer.
Sharpening my hammer. Um, but I think that there's something here for everybody who loves Resident Evil, and I think that's the greatest part about it, where Grace's sections are legitimately scary. You especially at the very beginning. And again, like you said, Resident Evil has a tendency to the further into a chapter or the further into the game you get, the more resources you've hoarded and the less scary it becomes. And the trade-off there is like maybe you didn't hoard resources, but then that makes the earlier sections less scary because you weren't conservative with your resources. It's been said by a lot of reviews that this is not a particularly difficult Resident Evil game. I would say that it's pretty much on par with the modern ones, honestly.
Okay.
But I think that it has an interesting story. I think that the voice acting is extremely good. Like Grace's voice actor is so convincing that you feel bad for her. You like, I
Wow.
wish that she wasn't in this situation. And then the principal villain, Victor, he's just a fucking weirdo in the best way. Like the Resident Evil villains are like cartoon villains, right? Like Wesker, Krauser, like these are like GI Joe fucking characters.
Mm-hmm.
And Victor is just the weirdest weirdo, and you don't know like what he's about, and you never really figure it out, but it's okay because he's just so fucking weird. Um, and just the game looks great. And honestly, like we're in a time where AAA games just kind of generally suck. I'm just gonna put that out there. There's so many AAA games that are phoned in the sense that it's just kind of creatively bankrupt. It's a lot of rehashing, a lot of coattail chasing, and just a lot of not a lot of innovation. And I'm not saying that Resident Evil 9 is particularly innovative, but it does seem to have a very good grasp on what Resident Evil needs to be, what people want it to be, and they deliver on every point. So, honestly, one of my favorite Resident Evil games since 4.
Hmm.
And 4 is not known to be a scary Resident Evil game. In fact, that was kind of heralded as by people who prefer classic Resident Evil as the reason Resident Evil like 5, 6, and even Resident Evil 7 were like not what they wanted. And I know that 7 like tried to go back, but obviously there were some changes there as well.
Yeah, 7 is very different for sure, with the focus on first person being a big part of it, and then, in a sense, almost divorcing itself from the rest of the Resident Evil universe
Yeah,
until, like, the end of it, basically.
yeah, and the final hour they try and like
Yeah.
allude to it being part of something more. Um, and I think that a lot of people forgave 7 when 8 came out and it was a little more closely tied to what was going on. But even then, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's Resident Evil. Don't worry so much about it. Um, but yeah, I very very happy with that game. I'm not done with it. Okay, I'm
Okay.
not gonna put that out there. I haven't finished it. Haven't seen the ending. I
That's
hear
fair.
there's multiple endings. Actually, and
Oh,
there's a very very emotional scene, and it's like I'm just gonna say fucked up. It's fucked up what happens, and yeah, you should play it. I think that this would be a good October game for you.
yeah, it's definitely on my list. I've played a lot of the Resident Evil games, but I'm one of those ones who didn't really jump on the Resident Evil 4 bandwagon when it came out. I know it's extremely influential. Like, Dead Space doesn't exist without Resident Evil 4, for example.
Right.
Um, but what Resident Evil was to me, 4 felt like it was extremely not doing that. And that was one of the reasons I liked the Resident Evil 2 remake so much, is it felt like they split the difference and really like gave you all of the controls and everything out of a Resident Evil 4 while maintaining the atmosphere and tension and everything that the older games had.
Yeah, and they were honest with like what the characters were at that point in time, right?
Totally.
Like Leon is a doughy, like greenhorn cop. It's literally his first day at Raccoon City Police
Mm-hmm,
Department,
mm-hmm.
and he doesn't have parries or spin kicks or anything. Like
No.
that was something that came out of Resident Evil 4. And let me tell you, they doubled down on that for 9, and that's good, because that's the
Mm-hmm.
direction they decided to take Leon. But they also acknowledge that like not everybody wants this. And like honestly, the largest section I played was a Grace section. I think that Grace has a lot more screen time than Leon. Leon is kind of like a little treat that you get between Grace parts.
Interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that there's probably going to be a larger Leon part towards the end, but right now it's like heavily featuring Grace.
Neat. Um, well, it's not really a horror game, but I did finally jump into my backlog and play a game that I would say has some horror elements, though not in the fashion of being a scary game. Um, in that I finally got around to playing Return of the Obra Dinn.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I would say that could qualify. It's unsettling.
yeah, it's not quite what I thought it was. I knew that it was a puzzle game. I knew that it was a deduction game, with a very unique art style, with the like, just black and white basically, even though you're running around a 3D world and exploring this boat. I didn't realize that the game was all about like time travel, so to speak, and like going into these like frozen moments on this boat.
It's insurance
Uh
time travel.
yeah. Yeah. Um and I didn't realize that it was going to be telling a story of a boat that has so much fantastical elements on it as well. Like, I guess it's kind of technically a spoiler, but like the third time you jump back and see an image, like the boat is being attacked by a kraken, and it's like, whoa, hold on, wait, what is this game actually? Um, and as you kind of discover the story of the boat, I found it to be really interesting in a lot of ways, but the way that the actual deduction works, there's a few couple of images you get. Every once in a while, you get a little bit of voicing from people saying a name or two, and you can try to figure out who those people are. But there's a surprising amount of not exactly brute forcing, but being able to feel like you're almost expected to do a little bit of something close to that, where there's like 5 or 6 seamen, and you might get to a point where who like 2 of them are, but you need to figure out these last 3, and it's kind of easier to be like, well, I know exactly who these other 2 people over here are. So I'm just gonna cycle this one person who I'm sure is a seaman through the 3 other options I have for seamen, and the game will trigger it because I have 3 correct and give me that. It
Are you
feels like
sure
the game
that's the
kind of
intent, though?
that's the thing is, at a certain point, it feels like the game is kind of intending you to be at a point where you may not know exactly who these like 2 dudes are, but just swap their names because you know that these are the last 2 seamen, right? And
Yeah.
you've gotten to a point where you know everything else on the boat. It's not like this is a big jump. And so like that stuff works for me just from the deduction part of it. Like that's fun for me. But there is a little bit of a like weirdness, I guess, in my head where I almost wish that the game didn't give me checkpoints of, hey, you got 3 right, and you kind of had to figure out like the whole book at once. But that would also be a nightmare in a different way. So,
Yeah.
like, I
Like
think
if you
they did
just
it the right way. It's just, it leads to a situation that is a little bit silly.
I would be infuriated if you had to get everything perfect in the book.
Yeah.
Because like there'd be like one thing you had off.
Yeah. And then
It'd
you'd
be
be
like,
like, fuck.
oh, he was cut and not impaled.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
they considered that to be cut instead of impaled, and then like you go through and you're like, I don't know what's wrong here, and then
Yeah.
you like finally give up and you look at a guide and you're like, that's what they're calling that? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, this guy was stabbed by a foreign enemy and not a mysterious beast or whatever.
Or adversary instead of opponent.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
And that's the thing. You're going through this book, you're finding out who all these people are and how they died or like what happened to them is what you're trying to do here. What you're trying to
Because
deduce.
you're a filthy insurance person.
Yeah. And it's got a little bit of a humor to it, I will say. But it is kind of a morbid humor, and it is a fascinating game that I'm happy I finally got around to playing.
Yeah. I mean, it's been sitting there for a while,
Yeah,
so
at least a decade, I feel like.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, by now there could be an Oberdin tube in development. We wouldn't even know.
maybe.
But you know what else
Um,
is in development right now?
yes, I do. But what are you thinking of?
Slay the Spire 2
Yeah, that
with
finally
early
came out.
access. Early access is now available, but it's still in development. I got that basically the moment it dropped. It had a mini outage for Steam,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and which is a great sign because we're talking this is an indie game, you know. But this
Yep.
is one of those indie games that I think kind of has something for everybody. Like you don't have to be a hardcore pick 3 deck building roguelite kind of person to enjoy Slay the Spire. But if you are, there's so much that you can engage with. And Slay the Spire 2 is by and large mostly the same game, honestly. But they expand the lore. The art is like way, way more vivid. There's a lot more animation, and there's 2 new characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, I think that it's mostly the Slay the Spire that we all know and love, with a bunch of additions. And what I can say about how much I've engaged with it in this early access is that um, I really like one of the new characters. He's called the Regent,
Mm.
and he is kind of like a weird space guy. who just kind of shows up because he likes traveling through space and engaging in adventures. But he has like this mechanic that involves having a second kind of currency. So he has suns and stars instead of energy, and so his cards take different amounts of suns or stars. And so there's some cards that don't even require energy, but they require stars.
Yeah,
And moving back and forth between these two currencies is kind of like how you do well with him.
yeah. I haven't picked it up yet, but I have watched one of my friends who picked it up play a little bit. Um, we did a run with the Silent using the new Sly mechanic that Silent
Sly is
gets.
great. Yeah, Silent is so much better with Sly.
Sly is crazy because it lets you play a card with Sly that you discarded, and so we got a bunch of Sly cards, a bunch of discard effects, and we're able to
The
kind of
thing
just like
is,
cycle through the deck and get all this free quote unquote benefits, and it was
yeah,
really
so
powerful.
this is not a new mechanic. It's just now it has a keyword applied to it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
The silent had a bunch of mechanics where discarding things gave you some sort of benefit.
Yeah,
In fact, there were some cards that you could only get the benefit if you discarded them. What Sly does it allows cards that you can play to also function as the same cards where you get the benefit if you discard them. And making it a keyword is also another really important thing that goes on in Slay the Spire too, because keywords um, can be added to cards as enchantments. So it's not just
mm,
upgrading cards, but you can enchant. And
mm-hmm.
so like there might be an enchant for Sly where you would like, oh, I mean, I have a lot of discard available to me with my current deck. I can add Sly to like a really important high cost card, and all of a sudden like my deck is like so much better.
Yeah,
But it's certainly not the only keyword. I mean, I certainly don't know all of them, but I just keep encountering more and more mechanics that expand on top of the foundation of what Slay the Spire was. And it's one of those things where it's like I kind of felt like maybe there wasn't a lot to expand, and I'm very wrong because they've done a lot with this. Like I said, again, very much the Slay the Spire that you know. However, a lot more.
And I know they also
So
added a co-op mechanic of some kind. Have you experienced any of that yet?
no, but what I will say is that the other new character, the Necrobinder, kind of capitalizes on the idea of this multiplayer thing because the Necrobinder uses summon, so it's kind of like one player multiplayer from what I can tell.
Mm, okay.
But that's just me saying things based on what I saw. Like I don't really know a
Yeah,
lot about
yeah.
Necrobinder.
I
Um,
I haven't picked up the game yet because you know how I am about early access. But I know. I've been a lot looser about it, and I'm probably going to pick it up pretty soon here. If for no other reason, I'm pretty sure I played the first Slay the Spire game in early access as well because it pretty much is a complete game, and it's a game I've always been able to go back to. And I also I know there's a lot in Slay the Spire 1 that I never did. Um
yeah,
like there's entire like bonus bosses and stuff that you unlock after you get to certain ascension levels, and like I think I only ever ended up getting to ascension level 3 or 4 on a few of the characters. Um and so like there's a part of me that's like, why don't I just play more Slay the Spire 1? But Slay the Spire 2 also just looks like it improves on almost everything that I've seen.
yeah,
Uh
yeah.
so like why wouldn't I then go to the next one? Um I did have a small laugh though. Um and I know we already talked about Netrunner, but go with me for a moment.
All right.
There's a bunch of Netrunner people in the credits of Slay the Spire 1 and Slay the Spire 2 from what I understand.
Uh huh.
And there are cards in Slay the Spire 2 that I have seen that are like directly referencing Netrunner cards in a really, really funny way to me. I'm gonna send you this really quick because I know I'm springing this on you.
Oh my
But
god.
you have the Regent who has a card called Royal Gamble. You love the Regent. It
Sure.
costs 5 stars and gives you 9 stars.
Sure.
The art is extremely reminiscent of Sure Gamble from Netrunner. which is a costs 5
Um.
credits and gives you 9 credits.
Well, okay.
I think
I
it is a nod to this, and it makes me very happy.
Is it a nod or is it just a subconscious like I'm the artist person and when I think of what a gamble is, it means holding a bunch of I don't know, Neil. I think that you're a little net minded right now. Like I can see why you would think that, but I can also see how that would just be a coincidence.
I've seen a couple other cards that apparently have some other art that is very similar to some Netrunner cards in the past.
Like if so the issue here isn't the art, Neil. I think that the issue here is that the mechanic is literally the same
The
mechanic. I
mechanic
think
on
that
this one is the one that I've seen that is the most like, oh my god, this is a Netrunner card. Some of the other ones have like art but totally different mechanics.
right. And I think that the Regent allows this reference to sit a little bit more because there's multiple currencies.
Hmm.
Kind of like how there's multiple currencies in Netrunner.
Yeah, it makes me very happy though.
Well, this is not going to translate very well for the video unless I'm now supposed to put this into the video.
You don't have to. You don't have to. People can look up Royal Gamble and Sure Gamble. It's fine.
Hmm,
Anywho,
I might have to.
I had to share it with you because it made me
You,
so tickled me.
well, I'm glad you were tickled. Hopefully there's more of that so that you can continue to feed me evidence and then I will finally cave and say, yeah, these are clearly references. But until then, I'm gonna say art is a coincidence. The mechanic of like 5 for 9, like that's pretty clearly
Hmm.
a reference.
Um, but yeah, I have been a little bit looser about early access lately.
Oh yeah.
I just yesterday, in fact, started playing Deadlock because I got an invite to it over the last week.
Yeah, Deadlock.
I'm not gonna go like deep into it because I haven't put that much time into it, and I want to put more time into it because Deadlock is definitely a MOBA.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I've played a lot of MOBAs in my life, including third-person shooter MOBAs, and I'm not sure how I feel about Deadlock yet. Uh,
I got an invite to Deadlock when it first came out,
yeah, you
like,
had it a
and
while
people
back.
they like it wasn't even like announced. It just kind of showed up one day,
Yeah.
and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And I sat on my account, and then like 2 months later, I saw someone playing. I was like, "Oh, that's what that is." And then I just kind of never played it. So it's just like what a waste for them to invite me of all people.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, if you want to try playing it sometime,
for sure.
then I have it. I just
I've
have not played it.
I've only really dove in and like looked at the characters and did like one bot match and then a few of the like all random, all mid mode that the game has an equivalent to.
Hmm.
Uh it's not quite all random, you're still kind of like selecting your character so to speak, but it is the like one lane, we're not doing the entire shopping mechanic thing. I've only really played that mode to just kind of get a feel for the game
Right.
before trying to jump into what the actual game is. But I will spend some more time with it because I have the ability to now.
Well, I played one other game,
Yeah, what else you been up to?
and this one was a big one for me. It's Mugenics.
Oh my god, right, yes, this one is a big one for you. God, we haven't recorded since Mugenics came out. Fuck.
No, we haven't recorded since basically
Oh
like
god.
last year.
Yeah, I mean
You got to remember.
Mugenics has been something you've been excited for a fucking long ass time.
Yeah, I was excited for it, and then it was said to be canceled,
Yeah,
and I stopped being excited for it, and then they said that they were doing it again, and I got excited, and I think that might have happened more than once.
probably.
But the game came out, and it was like a meteor. Day one, it recouped all of its cost for development. Edmund McMillan, known for Super Meat Boy, one of the first things that got me into content creation for video games, and
Hmm.
then later on Binding of Isaac, also a very very prolific game in the indie scene. And now he's made Mugenics, which is a cat rearing dungeon crawler. I would say that it's kind of like a mix between Darkest Dungeon and Pokemon. or
Oh,
Monster Rancher,
I had heard
where
that it was a little more tactical. I thought it was going to be more like an XCOM or something.
the gameplay is more of like a tactics game,
Oh,
but
okay.
the dungeon crawling is more like a Darkest Dungeon. And the way
I
that the
see.
reason I say that is because you can literally, so you have cats in your home and you put them in different rooms depending on what you want, and they interact with each other. They will fight each other, and if they do battle, sometimes one will get a bonus to a stat for winning, and the other one will get an injury or die, or no one will get injured. They will have sex with each other and breed new cats. Um, they have all these interactions, and there's mutations. So like, um, you might have a cat who has like a peg leg, and that will drop its dexterity. But there's also positive mutations where you might have a cat with like extra big eyes, and that will increase its ranged attacks. And so you literally strategically place your cats in your home, and you place furniture in your home to try and encourage them to interact in the ways that you want them to create better cats. That's why it's
Mm,
called eugenics. Um, and so the gameplay loop basically is you take four cats, you put them in a box, and you send them off on an adventure. And then on the adventure, you would give them classes. When you don't give them classes when they're made, you give them classes when you decide they're going on an adventure. So they have collars. The collars represent the different classes, and you start out with like the kind of cookie cutter stuff you would expect in any sort of fantasy dungeon crawler. You have a tank, you have a warrior slash berserker,
sure.
you have the healer, tank, you have the ranged attacker, you have the mage, um, and so you plop them down and you go through, and there's like different events. There's like event squares and there's fight squares, and the fight squares are the tactics stuff that you're talking about, where
Okay.
it's like Disgaea, Final Fantasy Tactics, Ogre Battle, whatever you want to call it. Um, and then when they get back, they're retired. They do not get to go on another adventure. You get to take a cat on one adventure. And so the reason they do that is it encourages using the cats who are veterans for the breeding program. Because after they've been given a class and they survive in return, then they also take on the traits of that class. So, for
Oh,
example, you will send a normal ass cat with maybe a mutation where they have a giant head, and that gives them higher intelligence. You make them a mage. They go through the dungeon, survive, come back. They're now a retired mage cat. So if you breed that with another cat, there might be a chance that the new kitten that's made will automatically have a mage skill. So like it'll have like magic missile when
sure.
it's born. But then you can take that cat and take it on an adventure and make it a warrior. So now it's a warrior cat that has magic missile.
Hmm.
And so it's the idea of like you use the different generations to kind of customize cats. I mean, with a lot of luck involved, obviously,
Sure.
and a lot of discarding of the cats that you don't want. And when I say that, I don't mean killing. You literally can donate cats to different NPCs. Okay, there's different NPCs, and to be fair, you can also just get rid of them in that way too. But there's incentive to take specific kinds of cats. Like there's this one NPC who wants geriatric cats. So like if your cat's like past 15 years old, you can donate your cat to that person, and then after donating a certain amount of cats to that person, they'll give you some sort of bonus, or they'll give you a side quest, or they'll give you some sort of statistical analysis tool so that you can have a better understanding of like what's going on with your cats as you're going through your breeding program.
Hmm.
So there's just a lot. There's just a lot going on here, and I've probably put in about 50, 60 hours into this game,
Oh, wow.
and my save file says 23% complete. So,
Okay.
and the thing is, like, there's also a time progression system where, like, I didn't even realize this, but like, I went through 4 months of gameplay, and then the seasons changed. Like, there was a little cutscene and everything. And when the seasons changed, a lot of the things for gameplay changed too. Like the weather was different. There was a different. So there's also like roaming bosses. So like you might come back from an adventure and a cutscene will play, and also like in 7 days, this super boss is going to attack your home. And this
Oh,
is the one exception. This is the one exception where you can use your retired cats. So you're going to be fighting like this really hard boss, but you get to use your veteran cats. So it's like this really like intense, cool event that kind of happens once in a while.
So
But then
with
what's up?
Binding of Isaac and stuff, you could always, get these like wild combinations of items to, in a sense, break the game.
Yeah.
Are you getting like wild combinations of class or ability on these cats that like turn your cat into some like crazy good one, and that's how you got it through to become a veteran? So this like super boss is like you're taking all your most broken cats and like using them, or is it
Yes.
something else going on?
You definitely want to bring your most broken cats.
Okay, so you are like getting stuff that is like really broken and like weird combos. Okay.
Yeah. So a good example is like there's you get to have equipment as well. And
Mm-hmm.
equipment, much like cats, you can't use it forever. You can find it, you can buy it. But when you go on an adventure, you get to pick equipment that you have stowed, and there's certain combinations like so there's colorless abilities too. So like without having a class, a cat can have an ability that's considered colorless.
Sure.
And Edmund McMillan has gone on record saying that like he was very inspired by Magic the Gathering for this. But like if I had an item that reduced the cost of casting colorless abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I had an ability that just says deal 1 damage to something at any range for 3 energy, but it became 2 energy with stone, and then I had another one was like every time you kill an enemy, refund 2 energy.
Oh
So
yeah.
like I could literally drop down into a battle, pick off all of the weakest things in 1 turn, and only like have like the large enemies left. And that was a humongous benefit for that run.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like the way that the game is designed is you can't just continue to exploit that. You have to start fresh with new cats,
Yeah.
new items. And, you know, I think that this is kind of what Breath of the Wild wanted to be, but it just wasn't there wasn't
With the
enough
like
like
item degradation
with
stuff.
yeah, but there just wasn't enough intrigue there to like want to engage with other things, so it was just kind of frustrating. But with
Hmm.
Mugenics, there's so much going on there, like you kind of want to know what else you could do.
Cool. Sounds like uh sounds like Edmund kind of knocked it out of the park mechanically, which
Oh, he
frankly that's
did.
kind of how he always does, I think. The mechanical side of his games, like aesthetic aside, I know some people are not huge on the aesthetic, which I get it. It's very like early 2000s Newgroundsy. Um
Yeah,
but the mechanical side of his games are pretty much always fascinating or good or interesting in some way.
I would agree. In fact, I like the game so much, I'm not going to even get into the controversy.
Fair. Which, yes, I have heard a little bit, and it's mostly about people who said meow. So,
It's dumb.
um, gosh, well, I've also played other games, but I can save them because they're all things I'm actively playing.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, I'm actually playing literally all the things I talked about, but
fair, fair. I guess I'll just shout out to XKO that had its real release in January. I guess we haven't had a podcast since then. Um, I'm still playing that game. I've been part of a thing out here in Oregon called the KSL, the Kickstart League. And that's still happening. And my team's doing really good. So go us. Thumbs up.
I've seen his matches. You guys should go watch his matches if you haven't.
But we got a lot of news to hit too, and I kind of want to
Yeah.
knock the big Xbox One out if we can.
Okay. The big Xbox One where they announced another console.
No, the big Xbox One where like is that other console actually gonna come out? Because what the fuck?
I mean, it was literally announced like 2 days ago, or even
Yeah,
yesterday,
I
maybe.
know, I know. It is coming out,
So
but the one I was thinking of is Phil Spencer, who's been head of Xbox for close to a decade now, maybe longer actually,
I think longer.
because he's been with Xbox for a very long time and took over at some point during the Xbox One era. Um, Now we're on the Xbox X, right? That's what they call it now. I don't
I don't
even know
know.
their fucking nomenclature anymore. Point is, they announced that he was retiring. Um, Pretty much every other time that we've seen a big head of something retire, they announce it like a month or so ahead of time. This was announced on a Friday at like 5 p.m. effective the following Monday.
Yeah.
The person directly under him also left the company. And the announced person replacing them is Asha Sharma, who was one of the heads of an AI division within Microsoft prior to this. So,
Mm.
not exactly something that I would say is sparking a lot of hope or excitement about the future of the Xbox brand.
Yeah. I think that I don't know, the whole AI thing, man.
It's a
There's a
nightmare.
lot to talk about there.
It's a
I
nightmare.
think that
It sucks.
I think
It is
I
destroying
think that
everybody's ability to have consumer electronics.
yeah, I think that the main thing I would say about it and make my piece is that like I don't think that this is the silver bullet that everybody thinks it's going to be. I think that the practicality of implementing AI for everything is a dream from investors,
Mm-hmm.
not from people who actually run shit. So don't expect that to happen,
Yeah.
and expect a lot of this AI stuff to end up having to fold within the next 2 to 5 years.
I'm hoping more on the two side because once it finally folds, it's still going to be another 2 to 5 years after that before markets balance back out,
Yeah.
which sucks a
Well,
lot.
I think that like you said, it's very interesting that like this happened and now they're talking about releasing a new console. Um, in fact, I think that it was said that one of the reasons Phil Spencer was retired, and I say was retired rather than decided to retire,
Mm-hmm.
um,
It sure feels that way.
consciously, is because of declining hardware sales. And it's like, okay, well, do you think this is the time? Do you really think now is the time to try and like put hardware out? Like even Nintendo like tried to wait, but they realized they couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo is suing the US government about the tariffs because of how it's affecting their ability to put hardware out in the States.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, the Steam machines that were announced a while back, that Valve was like, "Hey, we're doing the Steam machine thing again." Uh, those were something that they had been like, "We're targeting 2026," and that has been updated to, "We hope we can still do 2026 because actually being able to make the hardware has become questionable at best."
Mm, yeah.
Um, putting out and like announcing and putting out new hardware right now seems surprising. Obviously,
So
Microsoft is a big enough company that they can buy the things that they need to do it, but it's still shocking.
so one of the things I talked about like before we went on this sudden hiatus was that I bought a device called an AYN Thor,
Yeah,
which is kind of like this third party handheld device using Android to basically run most of what you could expect a Steam Deck could handle. And that entire market has like really been hit hard
yeah,
by all of this hardware stuff,
yeah, it has.
um, to the point that like they're not announcing anything new basically through the rest of the year. In fact, the most markets that deal in these handhelds have just abstained from talking about anything that they have planned. There was actually a video where one of the guys I watched, he goes to like consumer electronic shows, and he went and like there was like really nothing that they were showing because there was no reason to show off a product that they wouldn't be able to actually produce, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like it was things like controllers where you didn't need things like memory or most of what you would expect to like build a computer essentially. Um, so yeah, it's a market that's being heavily affected, and it's not the first time that we've dealt with this kind of shit. But the infrastructure, like that they're trying to set up for all of this AI stuff, is so it's the mobilization of it. It's like here, for example, okay,
mm-hmm.
so there was this one AI startup that bought a contract for a bunch of memory, a lot of RAM, and so the company's like, okay, we're gonna consign and like set aside all of this for this company, right? And then when it came time to like pay that bill, that company did not have the money, and so it's not even necessarily that these things are actually going to these projects. They're just sitting in a warehouse awaiting payment. because these startups don't have money. They're going off like assumptions that like if we say we're doing an AI thing, someone's going to come along and give us a bunch of money. It's
Yeah.
so stupid.
Yeah. I know that whole market of the like handhelds, because the AYN Thor that you have isn't the only one. There's like a bunch of options,
Oh
and
yeah, even the Steam Deck, they're not doing
yeah,
Steam Decks.
it's pretty much just all of it is like, yeah, we're just not doing this right now because we can't afford to sell them and also have the RAM we can put in them. So it's a mess. But there's
But you know it's
been,
an even
huh?
bigger mess. You know it's even a bigger mess.
Oh, what? What's a bigger mess? Oh no.
Um, you hear about Concord too?
Oh, you mean High Guard?
Yeah, I mean Highguard.
Hey,
So
Concord lasted 14 or 15 days, and High Guard made it like 45.
right,
So,
that's why it's two. It's the
so it's
sequel.
way, way better.
It's about like
Oh,
maybe 2 to 3 degrees better. So yeah, so Highguard, the universally panned team shooter, hero shooter. I don't even really know if it's a team hero shooter or just a team
I'm
shooter.
I'm not even sure if universally panned is right. I saw plenty of people saying it's a fine game, but it got so much
Paid
negativity after
actors,
the
Game
uh
Awards.
yeah, the Game Awards thing that like I think a lot of people who otherwise might have given a free game a shot just said, "Nah, fuck it."
Yeah, I think that there's kind of like this weird inverse negative effect where like it you have Jeff Keighley and his wonderful show, and people always anticipate something really big at the end. So if it's not actually something that people are excited about, then that thing becomes the target of a lot of animosity.
Hmm.
So, yeah, maybe I misspoke there. Universally panned is not necessarily correct. It just feels like there was nothing but jokes and memes and just naysaying about this game. And it's not like I wish anything ill on the developers or the producers or the people who worked on the game or enjoyed it. It's just, it's so iconic, isn't it, Neil?
Yeah,
Come on. It's the idea of like, I bet we could fit one more live service game into the ecosystem.
and they
And the
keep
answer is
fucking
no.
trying. They just
No.
keep
Stop
trying.
trying. Like even Sony realized when they were in the middle of developing 8 live service games that they were like, we're literally going to be competing with ourselves. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Stop it. Like I could have told you this 2 years ago, but I know that Highgar was probably in development for way longer than that.
True.
I think that a lot of
True.
these games, I think that a lot of these live service games start development thinking that there's still going to be space for them when they finally get done with development and launch, but it's kind of like the idea of uh stocks, right? The moment that you're hearing about it, it's already too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have independent games like Slay the Spire 2 and Mutagenics that are going gangbusters. And it's just like, stop doing live service. And here's the other thing, like, just segueing to other news, Sony seems like they are committed to doing more single player game experiences, but they've also decided that they're going to be moving them to exclusives moving forward, right? Because they had like lapsed a little bit and released a lot of their games on PC.
Yeah, they're
But
going they're going
they
back to the we want people buying our hardware to play our games. We're not doing these PC releases, which they were delaying them like a year anyway, so I'm like kind of surprised that they feel like it's eating that much of it, but
well, think of it this way, right? Like if they had decided to stick their games as exclusives from the onset instead of lapsing and putting them on PC. Like that would have made all of their core fan base happy, right? Because they already invested in these machines,
mhm.
right? But it was after they already got other people playing these games by opening their market and saying, "Hey, we can make more money if we sold our games on other platforms," and got interest and fomented interest in this way. Um, and now that they have people who enjoy their games, they're switching back because now there are people who would want to play these games who don't have the console.
Yeah,
So it feels like I feel like this was a long con.
I
I
see.
don't necessarily feel like that this is something that they planned, but it's just the idea of like trying to force the market back and forth.
I do see that, but it's confusing for me because, to me at least, the most of the people who would be buying their games on PC and then getting excited and being like, "Oh wow, I actually really like these," either they are someone who's like, "I need to play these day one going forward," and they will invest in the system, or they're people like me who are going to say, "Well, I was living without these games before, and I'm not going to buy your $700 system, so
Yeah, but we're almost 40, Neil.
sure,
It's different for us.
I guess so."
We, we've lived enough video games that we can be patient. There's some people who, are still in high school, right? And they see other people talking about it and being excited.
Well, but that's what I
And
mean is those people they would still get already go like whether or not they stopped bringing them the PC. It's the
sure.
people like me who was going to wait the year anyway, if I was going to buy them at all, and now I'm just going to not buy them at all. So,
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know.
I think time will tell whether or not that was a smart move. And then, another 3 or 4 years down the line, we'll hear about Spider-Man 5 being released on PC.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see, we'll see.
Or Wolverine or whatever it is.
I know we've had a few like state of play, an Xbox dev thing, and
Developer
like a
Direct.
Nintendo Indie World. Those all feel like they're probably long enough ago that we probably don't need to talk too much about them unless there was like a highlight of any kind that you were like, oh shit, this is
Um,
happening.
yeah, I mean, I watched all of them.
Hmm.
I think that by and large they were kind of disappointing.
Fair.
Um, but I think that the Sony had the best one simply because they announced the God of War remakes, even though they're not anywhere near complete.
Sure.
But now it's kind of soured because now they're saying they're only releasing these things on their console, so it's like, well, I'm not excited anymore.
Yeah, I guess so. I know the Nintendo Indie stuff had a bigger look at Densh Attack, which I'm still looking forward to. That game looks like it is straight out of the fucking Dreamcast era, and I'm down for it.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the Nintendo developer direct or indie directs, um, it's I don't watch them as Nintendo directs. I just watch them as
Yeah,
indie game showcases because
yeah.
I know those games are going to be on other shit. Except for the 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 one where it's like it's the It Takes Two style like 80s anime
Oh, yeah,
thing.
that one looks so good, but fucking it's
It
only
is
going to
exclusive.
Nintendo for some reason.
It is
Ah,
exclusive.
I know.
Dang.
I know.
Wait, is it for Switch 2 or is it for both Switch 1 and Switch 2?
I think it's just Switch 2, but I'd have to double
Oh,
check.
dang, Neil.
I know.
Well, I guess we're gonna
Orbital
have to
I
buy a
think
Switch
that one's
2.
called like Orbitals or something. That game looks like aesthetically it is so fucking good at doing that like 80s anime thing. It looks so cool.
Take note, developers, AAA developers, things don't need to be photorealistic to be appealing.
No, in fact,
Pick
oftentimes
pick
not
a
being photorealistic makes them way more appealing and stand out way more.
Yoshi's Island still holds up because it has a very cohesive aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, do that.
Do that.
Also souring my feelings on Sony is the shuttering of Blue Point.
Yeah. That one fucking came out of goddamn nowhere.
I mean, we're talking about live service games being on the down slope and them moving to doing single player experiences but making them exclusive. Might have want to kick. You should probably keep Blue Point for
Yeah.
that shit.
You know, the developers that made a bunch of your remakes, single player remakes that are like everyone has said are very good. like,
But yeah, that they
uh,
kind of buried a lot of the hopes for a Bloodborne remake when they did that.
yeah. There was some article came out recently saying that Bluepoint pitched that to Sony, and Sony was told that From said no.
Yeah, okay, so maybe you haven't heard about this, but the guy who made Bloodborne, the guy responsible for it, is like fiercely defensive of
Yeah.
it. Like for some reason he just does not want to allow anybody to touch it. So I know that there's a lot of hate going around towards like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And like the way that the IP's tied up is just like it's his precious baby.
Yeah, it's also
So
one of those things where, like, technically Sony can just do it, but they'd be burning their bridge so bad with a developer that they otherwise have a
yeah,
very strong relationship with. They don't want to
I
do
would
that.
say a lessening relationship with,
Uh,
honestly.
True, but I expect they are like they don't want to burn that bridge hard and in this way. So
No,
that's why From saying no matters here, even though the IP is in fact fully Sony's.
right?
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was expecting to see a little something from Soft for that Nintendo uh direct, the developer direct.
Yeah, we didn't see any more Duskbloods there, which was a little surprising.
Well, I'm sure that they're probably going to give like a whole hour presentation when that finally comes out because Nintendo knows they need shit right now.
Yeah, they'll
Like,
they'll get Iwata on there to talk about Duskbloods just because they know he'll talk for at least an hour.
oh my god. Like Nintendo needs stuff like yesterday, man. Like there's like after the what happened with Prime, like that was really sad.
Yeah, Prime
Like
4,
I
I have like I want to play it in the same way that I still want to play Metroid Other M and never got around to it. But
yeah.
it's pretty low on the list of I should play these. It's just a thing I want
That's
to do.
that's it's so heartbreaking because I know how much you love the Metroid Prime series.
That first Metroid Prime game is still one of my top two games, top one depending on the day, games of all time.
Oh, how low we have fallen.
Yeah,
At least it's not a live service game.
so true. So true.
Well, you got
Um,
any other news, Neil?
I mean, the big one was just the Xbox thing. That was really the one that was like boring a hole in my brain, and I needed to speak out into a podcast at some point. Everything else has just sort of been washing over me.
Yeah. I
There's
mean, I haven't
been
been able to
there's
say
just
the
been a shitload of layoffs, a shitload of studio closings. Like that is just happening everywhere, constantly, all the time.
yeah. Um, I mean, I guess the only other thing I can really talk about is we're 2 days away from Mario Day,
Oh, are we?
March 10th. So this might actually go up afterwards, but there has been supposed leaks of a new Mario game coming out for the Switch too,
I'm
and I don't.
I'm just surprised that we haven't heard anything from Nintendo saying, "Hey, there's a direct on March 10th or something."
Well, I mean, the big thing that they have on the table, like for everybody to see, is the Mario movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's disappointing for a lot of reasons. But I mean, probably still gonna have to watch that fucking.
I'll see it when
Like,
it
listen,
comes to HBO Max or something.
I was not upset with the first movie. Okay, I think that as far as like making the adaptation of a property that is that deep seated in so many different things at the same time, um, they did an okay job.
Hmm.
It's like a whatever, but I just don't see Mario as a film series.
I hear ya.
And they and then I still know that Illumination has fucking Legend of Zelda in the chamber, and God knows how that's gonna work out.
I forgot that Illumination was doing that one too.
Oh, they're doing it.
Have they announced the cast yet? Is Chris Pratt playing Link?
I hope so. I hope they get I hope they get Timothy Chalamet as Mido, the
Oh my
Kokiri child.
god.
I hope they get Jack Black as the Deku Tree. I can see that.
You don't want him to just be Ganon?
No, it's the Deku Tree.
Okay. Gosh, okay.
It's Mads Mikkelsen as Ganon.
That'd be a hell of a casting.
Yeah, but yeah, there was apparently to get back on track.
Yes.
Apparently a leak for this Mario game. Um, I can't be the one to validate any of this because I don't know. But they put some screenshots out, and they're really funny looking screenshots. And apparently the game's called Super Mario Titans. Um, I don't know if I believe this, but it's fun to
I'm
look at. So if you want to
I'm
look at
gonna
some funny
put that on
screenshots,
I'm taking a peek now. I don't think so.
I hope so though,
I truly
because
think this is probably not it.
they should do funny things with Mario, and then this is what I want.
I would
I
expect it
want it to
like
look
a
that funny.
Mario Bowser's Fury 2, but this time it's an actual game.
Yeah, maybe. But again, we are coming up on Mario Day, and if the only thing they got to say for it is Mario movie, go see it, and then we know Nintendo's in very dire straits.
Well, compared to some
What,
other
what, what,
companies, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, the whole industry is, so.
but what else do they got going,
They
man?
just they just don't have anything announced coming out. Like that part is so true. Like I
Like they have this
truly
whole
have
console.
no idea what Nintendo has coming out for their console this year. That is from Nintendo. Outside of did that Ditto family or not family Animal Crossing, that's the one. Did the Ditto Animal Crossing game come out yet?
It did, and actually, now that you mention it, it is one of the highest rated Pokemon games
Yeah. I've
with
I've heard good
Metacritic.
things about it from, but I thought it was like just review
Who would have thought
stuff
that the
coming
best
out.
Pokemon game would be not a Pokemon game?
So funny.
Well, some things get tired. You can
Pokemon
only
is
iterate so
Pokemon has
much.
had a solid God 30 years of being in the spotlight now.
It's still one of the most profitable franchises out there,
It sure is.
like by a
Oh my
lot.
God, it's actually been 30 years because I'm pretty sure like 1996 Game Boy Pocket is when I played the first Pokemon.
Yeah, dude, you're nearly 40.
Fuck. Okay, I'm good.
Like they have commercials where like there's people with gray hair playing Pokemon and reminiscing about it and be like, I remember, and that's you now.
No, my hair's not gray. I'm still young. That's what I keep quote unquote telling myself.
Well, it's not as saturated as it used to be.
Maybe not.
It's slightly desaturated.
Maybe not. Maybe it's just thinning out.
Maybe. Bro, let me tell you, I took some showers. Like the past 3 showers I took, like I've shed so much hair to the point that I was like freaking out that like I'm gonna go look in the mirror, I'm gonna have a bald spot. But I just realized that like, oh actually it's probably just my winter coat that I'm shedding.
Yeah, yeah.
And I kept asking people like, does my hair look okay? And they're like, yeah, it looks normal. I'm like, okay, cool, cool. I don't want to lose my hair, Neil. It's my charming
I
point.
know. I've had a like part on my head where I'm always going like, is this getting like more bald? Am I going crazy? And then I look at like an old ass picture and I'm like, I mean, that's the spot right there. I can like kind of see my skin in this picture on that spot too. So maybe it's just always been thin right there and I don't need to worry about it. But it doesn't stop me.
Well, this is what midlife crisis looks like, Neil.
No, midlife crisis is supposed to be like fixing up a new car, not just being sad about your hair in a
No,
tiny
no.
ass
Well,
apartment.
so you were missing a piece of the puzzle there. The reason that guys buy fast expensive cars, or like tune them up, is because they can control that.
Yeah.
Because they're losing their hair,
Mm-hmm.
which they can't control.
Yeah. Ah,
But you know what we can control? The end of the podcast.
so true. Video games goodbye, everybody.
Video games goodbye.
Audio Games is hosted and produced by Matthew Lane and Neil Jimenez. Our theme music is Recharging by Gooset. If you'd like to reach out to us, please email us at audiogamespodcast@gmail.com.